Welcome back to the We're Here podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Tony.
And today we're joined by Greg Tullis. Greg is a true Streatorite, a man of many talents and many capacities. And we had a really, really good conversation with him.
I had no idea the amount of capacities.
That's true.
He's done a lot and is doing a lot in the city of Streator. It was a great conversation. I've known Greg for 15 years since we moved here, and served with him on the board at Angle Lane and different things, but I had no idea all the things that he is involved with in town, and it was an incredible interview. I'm just going to let you guys watch it. It was awesome. Enjoy it, and enjoy the podcast.
Welcome back. We are here with Greg Tullis. Greg, it's such an honor to have you with us today.
The honor is mine, Pastor Paul. I am so looking forward to this.
Well, we are too. We were just kind of making some connections here and, talking about common people that we knew and some family of mine that you went to school with.
Yes.
And so you are a Streator native and very much, I would say, somebody that I've known a long time since I was at least in high school and has a lot of connections in Streator. And so we would love to hear your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself and growing up in Streator. What was that like and your connections with the city and those memories?
When I was in high school, I had such a passion for theater that I decided that's what I was going to pursue in college until my drama coach in high school told me to pursue something else. And after I got over that initial devastation, she made it clear to me that she was concerned that I could end up being a frustrated restaurant server trying to find theatrical jobs. So her suggestion was to go into something more stable and keep theater as a pastime.
Yeah.
So I went to Western Illinois University after graduating from Woodland High School and pursued mass communications with an emphasis in broadcasting. And after I graduated, my first job out of college was as the assistant news director at WCMY and WRKX in Ottawa. We were told in college that if you're going to start out in small market radio, you need to only do it a couple of years and then move on, or you're never going to succeed. I did it for a few years, and I enjoyed what I was doing. And then when the notion came that I ought to pursue a larger market, I realized then that if I did, let's say going into the Peoria market or perhaps Chicago or another state someplace, I would be starting over again. I'd be at the bottom of the totem pole. I'd be working every weekends. I'd be working probably nights, probably every holiday, covering severe weather and fires and police investigations and all of those things. And it just was not palpable to me. And I realized I really like being home.
Yeah.
And what I have found interesting when we coordinated having this opportunity, I realized that over the course of my professional life, I ended up only working in Streator for a brief number of years. Other than that, I have worked in Ottawa primarily or Peru. But all during that time, I have remained a resident of Streator because I have just always felt at home and connected here in Streator.
That's because you have wonderful neighbors.
That indeed I do. I'm now of an age that I am blessed with the fact that I have younger neighbors who are always there whenever I need a little extra assistance with something. No complaining. They just help me with whatever it is I need, and I am eternally grateful for that.
Spoiler alert: we're neighbors.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
lives right next door.
I guess I should have included that in the intro.
But then I couldn't have done what I just
It couldn't be
did.
a surprise
Exactly,
now.
so-
yeah, we building suspense.
Yes.
So now they know where we live.
Yes,
Tony.
now I know where we live.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So I did radio pretty much through the 80s. An opportunity then came up for me to join Union Bank in Streator in 1989 and then into the 90s. And over the course of 29 years, I worked with Union Bank, which then became Centru Bank and then became Midland States Bank. I left banking as the director of recruitment for Centru, and we had branches all over the state of Illinois. And so I was doing a lot of traveling and orientating new employees and getting them all set up into our system and what have you. And then when Midland States Bank bought Centru, I was one of those whose position was eliminated. So I then left banking. Ironically, I went back to work for the Ottawa radio stations in sales. And I did that for a time, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle to be in sales for a radio station during COVID. An opportunity then came up, and what I am now doing is I am in the accounting office of Lots Logistics back in Ottawa. But because of the next thing we're going to talk about here, because of my involvement with the Streator Rotary Club, they allow me, they being Lots, they allow me to work from home on Thursdays because that's the day the Streator Rotary Club meets. So I work in Ottawa Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then work from home on Thursdays. And going back to how I started with my passion for theater and being told to keep it as a pastime, ironically, my pastime of theater is the one thing in my life that I have done longer than anything else in my life. I've done theater longer than I've lived next to where Tony lives.
That's true.
I've been in theater longer than any job I've held. My connection to community theater has been about 45 years.
That's incredible.
And monetarily, I'm not one nickel richer for it.
You're probably a lot
I was
poorer
gonna say, how many
because
nickels
of it.
poor are you? Yeah.
Actually, if I thought about it, you're spot on. However, I am rich in the friendships
Very much.
that I have made over these many years. I still consider to this day some of the closest friends in my life I met through doing community theater.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's then how I got to here. One of the things that I know that you were curious about as well, perhaps my growing up days in Streator. Streator back in the 1960s when I was a kid, and then in the early 70s when I was in grade school, Streator was a place where you could come to town on Saturday, and my mom could go to J.C. Penney downtown, and we did not have to stay with her. You know, it was safe to be able to let her do her thing. We could go do our thing in Murphy's or Van Loon's or walk down to Woolworth's or any of the other variety of stores, Coast to Coast, I remember, and a few other places. And we could just do that until Mom was ready to go to the car. And she told us when we had to be there, and we kept track of the time. So we would meet back at the car, and then we would go down to Westgate Plaza so Mom could get her groceries at the National Tea, and then my sisters and I could either go to Top Save or Hornsby's and spend our time in the toy departments of those stores. Yeah. And when I got a little older, I enjoyed the time that I could spend in Top Save in the back where they had a record store back there.
Very nice.
And so you're back in there through the LPs looking for the latest record album. And so that's how I would spend my money and time. And sadly, that's not the case anymore, as we know it.
Bygone era.
Exactly. But it was an innocent time. And I've also been around long enough that I have gone through a period of time where downtown Streator became an empty shell. And it was embarrassing. It was depressing at times. It was like businesses leaving, because that was an era as well when malls started really exploding onto the scene. North Point Plaza came into being, and every storefront out there was filled, and the downtown was left empty.
Yeah.
Now I'm thrilled in my middle-aged life that the downtown is picking up again.
Yep, very
and
much.
it's exciting, so
That's one of the biggest comments we get from our guests is that downtown area is kind of going back to that bygone era, and
Indeed.
it's invoking that more innocent time, and
That's been a thread for almost every
Yep.
interview we've done. They just mentioned, man, the downtown is just growing, and it's wonderful.
And to me, it's exciting that the youth in Streator today can hopefully experience a bit of what I experienced in my youth 55 years ago.
it's a good connection, generation
It
to
really
generation. It I think it binds us together in some ways. Helps us bond from generation to generation, which is so important, especially in a small town.
I couldn't agree more.
And it's something that hopefully we will all everyone. It seems like many people are getting behind, but that the whole town will continue to get behind and continue to push forward. So we talked a little. You grew up at Woodland, one of our local schools, obviously K through 12 school. If you're not from the area, but we've talked about that before. I'm a Woodland grad myself,
Yes,
and part of the WF Hall of Fame there, of course, and. Happy to hear, I guess, if you have any kind of cherished memories of growing up there as well, and what, when you kind of went out into the world, how do you feel like growing up in a small town, a small community, small school? Do you feel like that prepared you to go out into the world and go to Western and to work in the in communications and all those ways that you've done so much over your career?
That is such an awesome question, and I hadn't really given that a lot of thought.
It's kind of a
No,
curveball.
Truly, I feel it's like spot on with what you had shared, what directions we were going to go this evening. But I just have to definitely recognize I didn't appreciate it at the time. We never do.
It's hard to. Yeah.
Exactly. The things that we're doing right now, we don't even appreciate until later on down the line. But I deliberately chose Western so that I could still be close, yet far enough away that I could start developing a bit of my own independence, being 3 hours. And back in the days when I went to Western Illinois University in Macomb, there was no easy way to get there.
Right.
The roads were horrible, and there was a little group of us from Woodland who all went there at the same time, and depending on which one of our families came to get us on any given weekend, every family had a different way to get there and get home.
Yeah.
And so, but in looking back, I had some tremendous educators at Woodland High School when I was there. And even into grade school, I still have fond memories of 6th grade because of my teacher that year, Lawrence Christopher, who could have been a real taskmaster, but he and I connected in such a fond way that it just made it enjoyable. He had I'm going to share with you one exercise that we did every day. And at the time, it was for fun. And I never realized what he was making us do, how he was making us learn. One break in our morning routine would that we would stop and we would listen to a radio newscast from WLS. And we would then be quizzed on the newscast after the news was done. And it could be everything like, what was the temperature at O'Hare?
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
What was the temperature at Midway? What was the lead story? What was the name of the person that was mentioned in such and such a story? And there'd be like 10 questions every day. And the goal is he was all about chalking up bonus points.
Okay.
That could help toward your grade in a particular course or anything of that nature, or a particular subject. And we were all motivated to get bonus points however we could. So we were intently listening to that newscast to get as many correct on that quiz every day. And it was fun.
Yeah.
And we were racking up the bonus points. It was later in my life that I realized that was his fun teaching way to make us listen.
Yeah.
Because you had a classroom of like 20 to 25 students, all in sixth grade, all leaning forward, listening to that radio broadcast. And we got into a habit of watching Mr. Christopher to see when he would make a note from the newscast. Because then we'd be like, oh, we better write that down because we can see him writing, so we better write. But nevertheless, it was a beautiful lesson in how to listen.
Yeah.
And here I am now at the age of 66, and I can tell the both of you about that experience. I mean, those things were just embedded in me. And then into high school, having an English teacher, two English teachers like Eunice Bright and Harold Ehlers, and PE with Sharon Groom, and industrial arts with Buzz Groom. I still have a bookshelf that I made in high school that we put together and then stained it, and it's solid.
Yeah.
And I still have that.
Yeah.
And it's like things of that nature.
That's incredible.
It was just so the education. You can say what you will about a small community school like Woodland, but gosh darn it, back in those days, we were blessed with a number of really gifted educators who really taught with their hearts, and were there for the students at any turn.
Yeah, and that was very much my experience in a different generation. They give you the tools that you need to go out into the world, and even the critical thinking skills and the listening skills to really truly pay attention to what's going on in the world around you. And so that's incredible that the very similar experience, even generation to generation.
One side note to that as well is that when I was a senior in high school, we used to have a lot of writing assignments with Mr. Ehlers. And I would just write and write and write and write. And I knew as I'm writing that a lot of it was just fill and was just bogus. I'm like, and I'm elaborating on this. In other words, we'd have to either read a story or read a book, and now we're having to write an essay on it. And I'm just going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I'd end up with 6 or 7 pages for any one assignment. And I thought, oh man, I am buffaloing him to the hilt. So then I got into freshman English in college. And my professor, we had, once again, a lot of writing assignments. But he was adamant about making certain we were brief. Mm-hmm. He'd say, tell me what you're going to say it, and then get done. Mm. And so where I was used to writing 6 and 7 pages for something, now I'm writing a page.
Yeah.
And on one of my first visits back to Woodland, my freshman year, it was like either homecoming weekend or whatever, and we got back into town before school let out on that Friday. And I went right down to Mr. Ayler's classroom, and I just looked at him and I said, "You son of a gun." And he gave me a smirking smile and he said, "What?"
What? Yeah.
And I said, "A year ago, here I thought I was buffaloing you big time with all of this added stuff to the stories I wrote, and you knew it all along that I was buffaloing through most of it." And he said, "Yes." He said, "But what did it make you do?" I said, "It made me write."
Yeah.
And he said, "End of story." And so there was yet another one of these lessons that I took with me, and I can now share with those details with the both of you here now in 2025. And I'm going to tell you that was in the fall of 1977 when that happened. So there are certain impactful moments in our lives that we'll just never forget.
It just goes to show that where you come from is it has such a huge impact on who you are and your accomplishments. And well, thank you for sharing those memories. And let's kind of move into the present now. Let's talk about. Obviously, you're here today. The reason we've asked you to come is more as a representative of the Streator Rotary, and let's kind of move into the present. Tell us a little bit more about Rotary, your involvement with the club, and how the members of Rotary, how they serve in the community and really around the world.
How I first became introduced really to Rotary back in my early professional life. The Rotary in Streator was quite large, as was the Streator Kiwanis Club.
Yeah.
And the Rotary, I hope this does not get me into trouble, but it was slightly more elite.
Okay.
The members of the Rotary back in my memory were the school superintendents. The principals belonged to Kiwanis, but the superintendents belonged to Rotary. It also was filled with doctors and the lawyers and the bank presidents. The bank vice presidents joined Kiwanis.
Okay.
And it was just the nature of how all of those things were done. In 1992, I was approached by the secretary of the Streator Rotary Club, Bill Zobis. He ran Richie's Furniture in downtown Streator. And he came to me with the thought of applying to become a member of a group study exchange program. I was in my early 30s. And he thought the timing was just right because you would no longer qualify to become a member of a group study exchange after you turned 35. So you only had until then to be able to participate in that. So I applied, and I was selected to be interviewed to be a member of the team from our Rotary district. The Rotary district that we are in goes as far south as Streator, all the way up to like Rockford and the Quad Cities, and so it takes in a large area. So I had to compete with other potential members of this group study exchange throughout the entire district. I was selected. And our exchange was with a Rotary club or a Rotary district in India.
Oh, wow.
So, in the early months of 1992, I headed off to India. And I spent 4 weeks in India with a stopover in Paris on our way to India. And when the 4 weeks were up, we returned home by way of London and got to spend 4 days in London.
Very nice.
Expense free.
Wow.
The only thing I had to pay for is that of anything if I purchased while in India. And the thing I came away from with that experience is that, and this was before the internet, cell phones, any modern technology, computers were just coming into like the schools over there, but on a very limited basis. And there was no World Wide Web at that time. And in fact, I was gone 2 weeks before I was even able to make an international phone call to call home. And I didn't process the effect that would have on my mom and dad to have no idea where I am or how I am.
No way to
for
reach
2
you.
weeks.
Yeah. No.
And finally, I'm in a little garage in this village in India where this guy had it set up with a card table and 3 chairs. He's sitting in one and 2 chairs on the other side. And he had this regular landline telephone with a cord that went all the way to the wall. And that's how he could make international calls. And that's how I was able to call home. And I think my mother dropped the phone, that she was absolutely blown away that I that she was able to hear my voice.
Yeah.
But because of that experience, I felt a definite connection to Rotary. When I worked in Ottawa for the radio station back in the 80s, I belonged to Kiwanis. And I was a member of Key Club at Woodland.
Yeah.
And so that had that connection with Kiwanis and the Key Club. So I had that background and, that experience as well. But at that particular time in my life, I decided, you know what? I wanted to be able to try to pay back to Rotary for them allowing me that tremendous opportunity to see a part of the world that I otherwise would never have gotten to see. And so I've been a member of Rotary since probably the early 2000s.
Okay.
And I served as president of Streator Rotary back in 2014 into mid 2015. And now I'm in my 3rd year as president again. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
We have about 15 members.
Yeah.
And I know one thing that we're wanting to bring out today as well is volunteerism.
Yes.
Volunteerism is a challenge. It's not anywhere like it was when I was first a young professional. For a variety of reasons, this younger professional generation it's not on their radar to join a civic organization or a fraternal organization or any organization, a charitable organization to help in any capacity. I'm thrilled with those organizations that I have been a part of, that there are some younger individuals getting involved, but not in the magnitude that I would hope they would. So the one element of Rotary is that we are an international organization. There are Rotary clubs around the world. Case in point, I was visiting Rotary clubs throughout India when I was there. That's the reason we were there. And we try to focus on the less fortunate. We are leading the way in eradicating polio worldwide. Polio is hardly even thought about, fortunately, in the United States anymore.
Right.
However, there are third world countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, other regions of the Middle East,
right,
where they just don't have access to the vaccine.
Right.
And so Rotary International has taken the lead in making certain that polio is completely eradicated. And as of this broadcast, we're at about 99% completely gone.
Yeah.
But there's still those little pockets, perhaps, let's say, even in villages in Africa that haven't had the opportunity of the vaccine. But we're trying.
Right.
We're getting in there to do those things. So that's international. Then within international, there are Rotary districts all around the world. And I mentioned moments ago that our Rotary district consumes an area of Illinois from Streator all the way to the Quad Cities and Rockford, and up in that, we're practically to the Wisconsin border.
Right.
So that's a huge area. And we elect a district governor every year to oversee the operations of the district during their year. One thing that each district governor is given the task to do is come up with a district-wide project.
Okay.
2 years ago, the district project was that the district governor wanted every member of Rotary to contribute 20 pounds of food to a local food pantry.
Oh, wow.
Well, fortunately, Streator has the Streatorland Food Pantry. I'm proud to say that we ended up, in our efforts, donating over $1,000 worth of food to the
fantastic.
Streatorland Food Pantry. The project last year, which we're still working on, is to create a pollinator garden.
Okay.
We've gotten the approval of the Streator City Council, excuse me, and there is an area right at the entrance of Marilla Park.
Yeah.
There's a sign there that says Marilla Park, but all around it, it's embarrassingly covered in tall grass, weeds, dead plants, and so forth in there. We're getting assistance from KC Lawn Care that are going to help us clean out that area, and then we are creating a garden bed in there to create a pollinator garden.
Fantastic.
And hopefully, promote and bring in butterflies and bees and other things that need the nourishment from the plants that we're going to put into that pollinator garden. Mm-hmm. So hopefully the area will be all cleaned out yet this fall. And then the plan is that the garden will then be officially created next spring, so
Very
the
good.
spring of 2026.
Nice.
Very nice.
Now, we also locally have been doing several service projects for many years that have been truly successful, and they are a need for this area. One coming up is our annual coat and blanket drive that we work side by side with the Streator Salvation Army.
Yep.
Judy Booz,
Yep.
executive director of the Streator Salvation Army, is a member of our Rotary Club. So it works hand in hand that way.
We have interviewed
We
Judy
have. Yeah, she
for the
was one of our
podcast.
guests.
She
Yeah.
was one of the first ones.
As soon as you said that, I was just reminded that she told me that she had. So I'm thrilled by that.
Yeah.
To let everyone know, if I may, we have a variety of collection spots in Streator, right here at Central Church of Christ, Church of the Open Bible, which is in the former Oakland Park Grade School, OSF Center for Health, Streator O&I's Credit Union, their North branch,
Okay.
out there by North Point
Yeah,
Plaza,
by the golf course.
correct?
Yep.
Streator Family, YMCA, and Kroger. And anyone in Streator and surrounding area is welcome to drop off those winter coats and blankets that they no longer have a need for. And hopefully they come to us in good shape
Yeah.
and hopefully clean as well. And they can drop them off at any one of those collection points. And then we, as Rotary members, will periodically collect those coats and take them to the Salvation Army. Then the day before the actual coat and blanket drive, members of the Rotary will gather at the Salvation Army and sort coats, because they're coming to us in garbage bags
Yeah.
and just thrown in
Yeah.
piles.
Piles
and we
and
have
piles.
to take every coat and decide, is it male or female, boy or girl, small, medium, large.
Right.
And then we put them on the appropriate racks in the room where they will then be distributed. And the distribution dates are from 9 to noon on Thursday and Friday, October 23rd and 24th at the Streator Salvation Army. And that's an opportunity for individuals in need of winter coats where they can come and make their selections and be on their way.
Yep.
Just thought you might be.
I thought I saw you had some numbers here.
Yes.
So just in case anybody thinks, well, is this really a need in Streator, Illinois? Yes, it is.
Yes, it
yes,
is.
it very much is. Yeah. So yeah, share your
A few numbers,
yeah, your
that I'd
numbers,
like
yeah.
to share. And these Judy Booz had prepared for me over the past 2 years, 2023 and 2024. We collected 1,637 winter coats.
Wow.
We gave out 1,037 coats. Blankets, last year we collected 223, and I found it interesting, we actually did not give out
Really?
any blankets. The question may arise, well, then what happens to those coats? Well, they're still in a back storage
Yeah.
room at the Salvation Army.
They're still available.
They still
Yeah.
are available.
Yeah.
And because Judy has shared with me, people are going to come at different times throughout the year looking for coats or looking for other things that they just maybe weren't able to pick up on the 2 days of the coat
Yeah.
drive. So those things happen. So that's been exciting. Another project that we are involved in, as are so many organizations throughout Streator, and that is ringing bells at Christmas time for the Salvation Army. What we have fun with is we are unique in that I don't think there is any other setup in the entire Rotary District where we meet simultaneously with our local Kiwanis Club.
Right.
We did it back during COVID just because our numbers have dwindled, the Kiwanis attendance numbers have dwindled, or the membership numbers have dwindled. So we found it more advantageous that we meet together. They conduct their meeting, we conduct our meeting, and then we have friendly competitions from time to time. And one competition that we enjoy having is with the bell ringing.
Yeah.
And whoever collects the most money on their given day, the other club owes the winning club dessert
Oh, nice.
at some future date. So those, you got to keep it fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
If you will, it kind of goes back to that lesson in 6th grade that I just thought it was fun listening to the radio, especially for the fact that then I went into radio in news broadcasting, and here I'm listening to Lyle Dean on WLS every morning, only to realize, oh, that's supposed to sharpen our skills at listening.
Right.
So it's, again, we throw a little friendly competition into things like that when we can. And
So who's done the most?
Who's winning right
Who's
now?
winning?
the last couple of years it's been Rotary. But I'm not sure exactly
All right.
Who that might be, but
No one's keeping track.
no
or
one's
anything.
keeping track.
Boy, our audio might have gone out.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry
weird.
about that,
Yeah.
but and ultimately it's all in good fun.
Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
It truly
and,
is.
and for such a good cause. And again,
that's it.
all of that money that's raised, people. I know we had Judy on. We said it when we had her on. I've said this many times. People think, well, that money just goes somewhere else. It all stays here.
You are.
It all
spot
stays
on.
right here. It all goes to local resources and helping people here in Streator, Illinois.
A side track of a lot of this with Rotary is that over the course of my coming back to Streator after college, is that I've been involved at Community Players of Streator for over 45 years. I ended a stint as business manager. In fact, Tony was on our board of directors at that same time when I was business manager. COVID hit. Everything shut down. When things started opening back up again, I realized, I was doing that for a lot of years and was not enjoying more time for myself. So I've backed off. But the theater is still going. It's a new and younger generation who's involved out there, just like I was 40-some years ago. So it's all good. I have been past campaign chairman and president of the Streator Area United Way. I have served on the Streator Elementary Board of Education. I have been a past exalted ruler of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks here in Streator. I'm a 3rd and 4th degree member of the Knights of Columbus. I'm on the board of directors for the LaSalle County Historical Society, and I direct the choir at St. Michael's the Archangel Parish here in Streator. So I, over time, have kept myself involved in a lot of other outside organizations. Another element that I was often called upon pre-COVID was to MC a variety of fundraisers and charitable events in Streator. And the one thing which ties in to these service projects that we're involved with in Rotary, with the coat and blanket drive and the bell ringing, that there truly is a need in so many ways for the less fortunate here in the Streator area. And the one thing, despite sometimes the reputation that Streator unfairly gets, I feel, when it comes time for giving. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
This area has always gone above and beyond.
Yeah.
And the pride that I have had in being able to serve as the master of ceremonies for these various fundraising activities and charity fundraisers is that when it all came right down to it, they always met their goal.
Yeah.
And often far exceeded their goal.
Yeah.
So it often told me, it's like, well, we may be in hard economic times, but by gosh, that Streator community will always come through to help those less fortunate than them.
Yeah.
And that has been another thread that's gone through every interview.
Really?
When it comes to stepping up and,
Yes.
and helping the community, people in Streator stand up and they say, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Paul says, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps.
And that's
just
exactly what
get
we
it
do.
done.
Yeah.
And quite respectfully, that I have, over time, been involved, not as much as what I just shared with you, but in other communities that have often, and I don't know why, but they have struggled to reach their goals. But for this community, year in and year out, they are reaching their United Way goal every year. What worries me a little bit is that it was just an understood given, as I mentioned earlier about membership in Kiwanis and Rotary. It was just sort of understood, if you were a professional in this town, which of those two clubs you're going to join.
Right.
And back then it was like, and you are going to join.
Yeah.
And then it just has, I discovered when I was on the Streator Area United Way board, is that a number of the longtime members of that board were slowly retiring their positions. And we were having to fill the positions with new members. Fortunately, we have been able to do that. But what we have discovered, as important as United Way is to not only this community, but communities all across the country, the young generation isn't really aware as to what United Way does.
Yeah. So there's kind of two questions that come to mind when you mention what you just did about, it almost feels like it's so easy to take for granted the people that we have, and not in a way of like, I'm not meaning it in a disdainful way or anything like that.
Of course.
When you're part of a group that's moving along and you're doing these great things, sometimes it's hard to take a step back and say, okay, who am I going to pass the baton to next? Who am I investing in to come up after me when I'm ready to hang it up for a while, or step back and take a break, or as I get older, I'm less physically able or whatever, what have you. I mean, obviously there's some octogenarians that are running circles around me sometimes. So,
I understand.
But I think sometimes it's easy to take for granted what we have.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? And then also, my other question would be, why do you think? And maybe you don't. Maybe this is another curveball, and I apologize if it is.
No,
but
that's
why
fine.
do you think younger generations are less aware? Do you think we're too busy? Do you think we haven't been taught? Do you think it's self-centeredness? I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole of like, you darn kids. I don't want to. I don't want to be like that. But
No.
What do you see? What do you think is behind that? And what really, I guess, the more important question is, what can change? What can we change to get younger generations serving and moving in that direction of being involved in the community?
That is an absolute beautiful question.
That's the $1 million question.
Yes,
is it, right?
it is.
If only we knew.
And I have had some thoughts to this, and in fact, it just came up most recently of why I'm now able to touch upon this. When I started at Union Bank back in 1989, I was hired. No one ever really came out and said so, but respectfully, looking back, I think a bit of it was because being known as I was at that time, and that the management team thought, oh, what a win-win for us if we could get Greg Tullis to be working for us.
Yeah.
Now, I may be just blowing my head out of proportion
Well,
here.
what you mean is you had the connections in the community.
Correct.
And yeah. I mean, I don't think that's prideful or ego or anything. It's just reality.
And to that point, I got hired, and for a while, they really didn't know what it was that they wanted me to do. In fact, every day I kept asking, it's like, is there something I should be doing?
What's my job?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's my job? What's my title? You know, they
We
really
got him.
didn't
Now
know.
what do we do with him?
Exactly. Well,
So like when a dog catches a car, it doesn't know what to
Yeah.
do.
that's it. It's like, well, now what? You know, you can't bury that in the backyard.
Yeah.
So at some point early on, and it was in summertime, and back then we would hire for the summer a lot of college students who would be home from school, and they're looking to make some spending money over the summer, and they primarily worked on our teller line
Okay.
or in our bookkeeping department. And they didn't get a great deal of training to be tellers or bookkeepers. They were just sort of thrown into
Thrown to the wind. Yeah.
Exactly. So at some point early on, the president of Union Bank at the time came to me and said, I have a task for you. He said, I want you to observe our young tellers and report back to me on your findings, on how you think they're adapting, how they're blending in, so on and so forth. And I'm going to tell the both of you gentlemen that had I known later on what I shared with him could have been the epiphany of it all, I could have left the professional workforce and written a book and made millions of dollars and gone from there. But what I told him, and again, 1989, let's put that in perspective. That, again, was before personal computers. It was before the World Wide Web. It was before cell phones, any of those things. Those things really did not come into evolution until like the mid-1990s.
Right.
And I told him then that this generation coming up, and they are now, probably in their 50s, are going to be spot on when it comes to technology. But they aren't going to know how to talk to somebody face to face. What I was discovering is a lot of our young tellers never looking up to look at the customer, which in banking is rather dangerous.
Yeah.
You need to make eye contact and know who it is that you're waiting on. They would be pleasant with hi, and thank you, and that was about it. So they said very little. They never looked at the customer, but
Typing away.
they're on there,
Yeah.
and they can do the deposit and all of that stuff. And back then, the only level of technology we had was Pac-Man, or a few of those very antiquated electronic games that were available then, Pong, and things of that nature. And now look where we're at. So, respectfully, what I have felt, to answer your question, social media. Social media can be so positive. I initially in my life got on social media for positive things. Sadly, it has taken a drastic reverse turn. You can go anywhere, anytime now, and nobody looks at anybody.
Yeah.
It's all on their phone.
Yeah.
I have been in restaurants, and I often eat alone because I'm single, and I just enjoy dining by myself. I have been invited to join people, but I tell them I'm not really alone because invariably where I go to eat, I'm going to run into somebody I know. And so that takes up the course of my meal with conversation.
Boy,
but I have been in restaurants where the people sitting at the table, they'll place their order and then they go right to their phone and they don't talk. They don't look at anything else. They're just looking at their phone. And so even though social media would have a plethora of information on Streator Area United Way and Rotary International and Kiwanis International and all of these other civic and charitable organizations, but that's not where they're going. They're not looking at those things on there. And so there's a bit of being, I feel, sheltered within social media. We have allowed ourselves to just get burrowed into a cocoon of our own little makeup. And boy, we can just say anything and everything we want that the world is going to be able to see, but we can't look at each other and carry on a conversation.
That is incredibly astute. It just, I mean, even just, I want to back up a second. You said,
Please.
Wherever you go, you're not going to be alone.
No,
that is
right.
that is such a different attitude from what my generation and younger generations have. It's like, well, I don't want to go. I don't have anybody to go with. It's like, well, you can meet people wherever you go and just find those connections. And then also that idea of we have all these online connections.
Yeah.
But they are not fulfilling us, and they're not giving us what we actually need and what we actually want. And so, boy, there's just so much to unpack there.
You used, in my humble opinion, a very critical word, and it's the fulfillment.
Yeah.
Is because we are just consumed and inundated with information galore. Mm-hmm. And we three know that even our attention spans have drastically changed in the course of our life. We can't stand to be on one particular thing for more than 2 minutes now. It's like, come on, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Get on to the next thing.
And how with that attitude, how is any of that fulfilling?
Yeah.
If you're on something off, and it's like, what are you really gaining?
There's no depth. There's no depth to anything.
Right.
One thing I enjoy with my two boys is watching movies, particularly older movies that I grew up with that are slower paced, great movies.
Indeed.
And I will say multiple times during it, I'm like, just put your phone down. Like you're gonna miss something. Like, did you see that? I hate. Hey, did you see that? Because something would happen in the movie that they needed to see to understand what's going on. Did you see that? Like, oh, what? I'm like, put your phone down and just watch the movie. That's what we're doing.
So here's the challenge, and I feel like one of the questions that we had on here is who should join Rotary, and obviously we've kind of gone a little bit past that now, but I think just circling back,
absolutely.
Here's my hope. Okay, I don't think I've ever said this like this on any of our other episodes, but our hope is that through this podcast we can build up even more of what makes Streator amazing.
Yes.
I hope that if there are young people especially, but I think it's true of all of us, of every generation, that if we just pause for a moment and consider, okay, well, why should I go out and join a civic organization, or why should I go out and join something like, a church or a service organization or any sort of community, even a dinner club or
Or
any
theater
or
or
any
anything.
of those things.
Yes.
Why should I join those things? Because you're going to find what you're really longing for, and that's connection and relationship. And a huge part of an organization like Rotary or Kiwanis, any of those things we just listed, it is meaningful, fulfilling connection. It really doesn't, a lot of times, I want to be careful there, because obviously there's some organization out there that are probably working toward the opposite direction, but it probably doesn't matter as much what you're doing as much as you're doing it with other people. And you are building connection and community. You said, Tony, it takes a community to build community.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. That's what a lot of these, I know. I mean, honestly, I don't feel like we've had a moment quite like that thus far. I mean, we have had some smaller moments, and I don't want to take away from all of our guests by any means, but thank you for even getting us down that road. And again, my hope is, young people, if you're watching this, connect with older generations. Go serve with them. Older generations, connect with younger generations. Go serve with them. Pull them in. Like, hey, you want to go do this thing with me? Whatever that thing is.
And shame on us that I know this as well as I know my own name, and yet I still forget about it. It takes an invitation, too.
Yeah.
The days of just somebody stepping in and saying, I'd like to join.
It's not happening.
Quite frankly, you have to wonder why
Yeah.
and what's going on here. Why would they just come in and say, I'd like to be a member of such and such?
That's almost a red flag nowadays.
Sadly, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, all of the organizations that I either belong to or have belonged to started with an invitation. And perhaps we of our generation, and I'm definitely older than the both of you, but we need to be mindful of that. And it's like, if our the ones who are going to come in behind us, if they're going to continue to be there, we need to reach out and ask them to consider joining, and be prepared to tell those individuals why you joined.
Yeah.
The value in why you became a member of those organizations. Quick little side story. I'm getting flooded as you are sharing these beautiful thoughts.
Oh, me too. I love
Pastor,
it. Yeah, this is great.
When I agreed to serve as the exalted ruler of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks here in Streator, I was working on the main floor of what was Union Bank at the time, at 201 East Main Street in downtown Streator. And over the course of the months preceding my election into exalted ruler, I had a visit from every living past exalted ruler.
Wow.
Giving me their 2 cents on either what I should do or what I shouldn't do. And even back then, and this was the early 90s, we were struggling for members.
Yeah.
Because nobody was joining the Elks. It just wasn't the thing to do. much like they were struggling then, to get members in the Knights of Columbus. They were struggling to get members in the Eagles, the Moose.
Yeah.
All of those.
Yeah.
And even the Legion and the VFW struggled for members because there was a definite deal on that.
Yeah.
To be able to get in there, you had to be a veteran.
Yeah.
And we went through a whole era after Korea.
Yeah.
And then obviously Vietnam after that, but that was still too early for some of these to come back and want to join the American Legion or the VFW. But one in particular member of the Elks that came to visit me, and he happened to be a past president of Union Bank, who I revered immensely. And he said, I know that getting members is going to be a struggle. He said, but that doesn't fall on you. He said, keep in mind, when he joined the Elks back in the 1950s, he said it was the thing to do.
Yeah.
Because there was no television to the level it is now, or even what it was in the 90s. And there weren't this onslaught of every type of youth sport activity in Streator like there was in the 90s and as there still is, between soccer and softball and baseball and anything else in between, that these young families were spending time at the ball fields and they just didn't have extra income to take their whole family out to dinner every week to the Elks. And with our lodge being right in downtown Streator, it didn't provide a whole lot of other opportunities.
Yeah.
We have 4 lanes of bowling, or maybe 6, down in the basement, and that was about it.
Yeah.
But we're talking about organizations that are still around, but they certainly aren't what they were when they initially got started.
Right.
And it's the same way with Rotary, Kiwanis, the United Way, and all of these sundry of organizations. There just isn't the level of commitment and involvement as there used to be. And I think it goes back to what we touched upon a moment ago. We need to get out there and ask. And look at some, you can see them here in Streator every day, the young professionals that have come back and are helping Streator thrive again after the period where downtown had become forgotten and what have you. It's getting built back up. And hello, who's running those stores? Who are running the insurance offices today?
Yep.
Who's running the law firms today? Get in there and invite those people to consider being involved in your organization and be ready to tell them why it was that you joined in the first place.
Yeah. Boy, that's gold.
Thank you.
That is gold.
That means a lot.
I just feel like, if we were to kind of put a bow on all this, I mean, it's generations connecting with generations. You've got to ask, you've got to invite.
Yes.
Don't just sit back and wait for the younger generations to get connected. Go connect with them. Older generations, go connect with them. But also for our generation, for younger folks, don't just sit around and wait for your turn. Go ask. Go get involved. Get to know people.
Oh my
like
goodness!
Greg and these other people in these older generations and learn from them and that wisdom can be passed down as the baton is being passed from generation to generation.
And right to that point, as well as I was thinking as you were sharing that, let's get we and they out of our vocabulary and change it to us.
Yeah.
Because how this, I hope, will work is that if my generation enthusiastically welcomes those younger generations coming up behind me, as opposed to sitting around and griping and moaning and complaining that they don't get involved in anything and they're spending all their time on their phone or their personal computers or their iPads or all this, and what's wrong with them, reach out to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give them a reason to put their phone down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Very good. Well, Greg, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. I want to give you a moment just to kind of, again, invite people in. Tell us some things. Tell us a little about when the Rotary meets, where,
Perfect.
how can younger people, especially, but anybody get connected and involved in what the Rotary's doing here in Streator.
thank you for that. We meet every week, Thursdays at noon at the Eastwood with the Streator Kiwanis Club at the same time. And meals are provided. The Eastwood serves us incredible meals every week. The cost of the meal is included in our annual dues. We are billed twice a year to cover our dues. And as I said, we are involved in a variety of service projects locally and at the district level and occasionally the international level. And one point that I had passed over earlier that I just wanted to quickly share.
Yeah.
We also apply for a district grant every year. We submit the grant, and that if it's approved, we will get matching funds from our district. Our Rotary Club will pay half the cost, and the district will pay the other half. In just the last couple of years, I'm so proud of this, that we have a tremendous district grant chairperson, Barb Ealing, and she knows how to do all of that like the back of her hand. Mm-hmm. And in the last couple of years, in 2022-23, we donated just our portion, $1,432 for a communications board at Kimes Elementary School.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of these communication boards for those perhaps struggling with autism and other things, that they can use that board to help them communicate with the teacher and other students. In 23-24, because of the timing, we weren't able to qualify for the district grant, but we did do our portion for the back to school fair in partnership with the Streator Ministerial Association, and we gave $1,500.
Wow. Well, thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Incredible.
In 2024-25, we partnered with Streator High School and Live Well Streator to purchase a drinking water fountain and a bottle filling station for the James Street Recreation Complex, and we gave $1,500 toward that. Now, when I'm saying this to you, that means we gave $1,500, the district gave $1,500.
Yeah.
And then most recently, we have partnered with the Streator Library so that we are helping establish a library sewing and quilting center, two art forms that are being slowly forgotten, sewing and quilting. So they're going to start a center at the Streator Public Library for that purpose. And the funds that we donated for that were $3,900.
Very nice.
So those are a few things. And most recently, we have had join the Rotary Club, Mayor Badai, the new the Streator Elementary superintendent. We have the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and just a number of other Streator area professionals.
Yeah.
And if anyone would be interested in more information, get a hold of me somehow.
Yeah.
Either between pastors Paul and Tony
Yeah.
or myself. I would love to be able to share our story more with any of you interested.
And we can link to information
Perfect.
to contact you in the description
Yes.
for this. Yeah, on YouTube
Perfect.
or on our podcast channels too. So
Yeah.
be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Well, Greg, thank you so much. This has been a really enlightening and just such a good conversation. It's such a blessing. It really is.
I told you when I sat down tonight that it was my thrill to be given this opportunity. And I just have to apologize to the both of you that I went here.
No,
and then I went there,
please don't
and then I went
apologize.
here.
It's been
but it's like,
fantastic.
hopefully it all worked its way back around in the purpose of all of this.
I
and
think-
I've had the time of my life.
Me too. I think I mean, just some solid moments and some great considerations for anybody that's in a leadership position or a service organization.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of our community, and thanks for being our guest. And yeah, I guess we'll sign off. And so thank you for joining us. Thanks for watching the We Are Here podcast, and we'll see you next time.